Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our continuing series of Know Your City, sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Waltham. My name is Annette Reynolds, and for the next month, I am president of the local League of Women Voters. I am just delighted tonight to have Marybeth Duffy with me. Marybeth, what's your title, Marybeth?
The director of the Waltham Council on Aging.
Okay, and that's one of the questions I gave you. Before we actually dive in and discuss your role with the city and how you interact with the residents and people of Waltham and the city, I want to ask our audience, if you have questions, please put them in the question and answer box. I will be monitoring it throughout the presentation, and we'll ask Marybeth to answer the questions that you have. Okay, Marybeth, as I was doing my preparation for tonight, I saw Council on Aging and I think Senior Center. And can you explain the relationship, what the Council on Aging does? There are many of them throughout Massachusetts, how you're all related and what that all means.
Okay, so the Waltham Council on Aging is actually a department of the city. So we are one of numerous city departments. We act as a social service agency / community center. We are located at the William F. Stanley Senior Center. So the Senior Center is basically the building, and the Council on Aging is the organization itself. I hope that clarifies what you're asking.
Well, yes, but what are some of the, do you have programs outside the Senior Center?
The majority of what we do is based on site in the Senior Center. When we venture out, it's usually just for day trips, to take people grocery shopping, to take people to doctor's appointments and social transportation. So pretty much everything we do is based at the Senior Center at 488 Main Street. That's our home.
Now, are municipalities mandated to have a Council on Aging, or is this a voluntary thing? Because I noticed when I was doing some work last year, there just seemed to be, every community seems to have one.
Well, it's not mandated. It is an optional thing, but every city and town in the state does have one. And when I was asking that question once before, I was told the interesting thing is it's not mandated, but neither are police departments. Ooh. So I found that fascinating that we were in a group of an organization that was clearly beneficial and kind of necessary, but not mandated.
Okay. What types of well, first of all, how old do you have to be to become a client or a member of the Senior Center? 60
years old.
That's not very old.
It's not old at all, especially now that I have people that we service, people that come in that are younger than me. It's fascinating that as a geriatric social worker, I'm now working with people that are younger than me. So our age group spans from 60 to over 100. So that's a 40-year span in the life cycle, and it's fascinating. It's a challenge. But clearly, there is no one size fits all in our programming.
Obviously. So explain or describe the programming that you have, let's say pre-pandemic over at the Senior Center.
Pre-pandemic, we basically offered anything that anyone wanted us to do. And as long as there was a response, we would try it and we would keep it going. So we're very open to suggestions of what people want. But the basis of what we do is just to keep the older adults in Waltham, to keep them healthy, to keep them connected, to keep them safe in their homes so that they continue to live independently. So that is our goal, is to enrich the quality of life for people in the community and to be there as a resource so that they don't struggle to stay in their homes and give up and maybe prematurely move out and go places to live that they probably wouldn't need had they been connected with services and programs. So we offer all sorts of fitness classes. We have 2 fitness classes every day. We have every type of a craft. We have social activities. We have concerts. We have movies. We have on-site lunch program. We offer transportation. We offer insurance counseling, any kind of card games, mahjong, whist, bridge. And we do, I think it's at least once a month, sometimes twice a month, educational presentations. And whatever people come and say, hey, let's try this, we do it. We don't do a needs assessment. We don't survey people. We just put it out there, we try it. And if people turn out when they like it, it continues.
Okay. How are the activities funded? Well,
So basically, the city pays for running our building, and they pay for our salaries, the staff salaries. The funding for programming comes from what's called a formula grant from the Executive Office of Elder Affairs. And that is an amount of money based on our census. So the last census, which was 10 years ago, we had 10,382 seniors in Waltham. The last formula grant gave us $12 per senior. So that's 120 something dollars. And that's what we use for programming. We also use that money for a transportation program where we sell taxi vouchers half price. So a lot of our people, when they give up driving and they become frightened and desperate, that's one thing that we can offer is half price taxi. That is money we used from our grant. So basically anything that we have to pay for, we ask our people to make a contribution towards the exercise classes, for example. It's $3 a class. It's quite affordable. We have wonderful instructors. And we subsidize those costs with this grant. I mean, the grant, without the grant, I'm not sure how we would function. It's our backbone.
Well, how many people are employed at the senior center?
We have 6 full-time employees and 1 full-time equivalent, which is van drivers. We have a handful of 1 day a week van drivers.
Okay. Do you have, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I could tell you who we have there. Debbie Barry is our Meals on Wheels coordinator. Bonnie LeBlanc is our transportation coordinator. Elaine Corbett is our assistant, and Debbie Vautour is a receptionist. And we have a vacant position for an outreach worker that we hope to fill this next fiscal year. And then we have a bus driver who recently retired, and that's another position we'll fill once we reopen.
Are there opportunities for volunteers other than those coming in to teach classes, for example?
Yes, absolutely. When we are open, we are always in need of volunteers for our Meals on Wheels program. So we have people that work in the kitchen that package the meals. And then we have drivers that deliver about 10 meals in a specific neighborhood. So altogether, we probably have about 170 volunteers.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. But without them, we had to stop our Meals on Wheels program because we couldn't have volunteers in the building. So right now we're just purchasing frozen meals directly from our vendor and delivering them. Once we reopen, we'll have everyone back in and we'll have a nice hot cooked meal sent right to their homes, right from our kitchen.
Which kind of segues very nicely into my next question. Can you tell us the effect of the pandemic on the Council on Aging and the Senior Center?
It was huge the moment we shut down. The impact was instant. When we first closed, it was a shock to the system for people that depended on us, that came in. Some people came in every day to do something different each day. The friendships that were born and nurtured in our building, everything came to a screeching halt. The first thing that we did is we did outreach calls, well-being checks to everyone registered to us. Some people did okay. They had family, they felt safe, but for people that didn't have a good support system, they were isolated and they were frightened. And we did a lot of comforting in these phone calls. So basically, people lost their connections. I mean, over the years, we worked so hard to encourage people to come and develop programs that they requested. You know, 4 or 5 years ago, we got that amazing parking lot. So things were really growing and building, and we were bursting at the seams. Once we got the parking lot, we were running out of space. So to have the doors locked and to say to everyone, I mean, the first message that I sent out was, we're going to be closed for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't count.
No, I guess not. And clearly that evolved into this year.
Well, I do remember 8, 9 months ago, I was making masks for you. And you were still engaged with the people, the seniors in Waltham. I think I must have given you 30 or 40 masks at the time.
Very, very grateful for that, Annette. You have no idea.
Well, it was, I think many of us were looking for what we could do. Now, I have a question here. Is the Council on Aging offering Zoom group meetings to provide socializing during this time?
Yes, if you were to look at our newsletters on the city website on our page, you will see that there's a lot of programming very similar to what we did before. So one of the very first things we did was to get all of our instructors, all of our fitness classes on Zoom. And then we had cable tape each one of the classes so that for people who don't have access to technology, they could watch the classes right on our local cable channel. So I have to tell you, I think we tripled the amount of participants in fitness once it was available on Zoom. People had no excuse to not get in the car and drive over. But there are a fair amount of people that still don't use technology that, yeah, they can watch it on TV, but they're not in that group with the instructor live. And after the classes end, people will stay on and chat with each other. So yeah, that very, very early time of just everyone feeling that they were just abruptly cut off from everything they depended on. It was terrible.
It's easy to forget how scared we all were.
Yeah.
Okay.
And as you pointed out in the very beginning, no one could get masks.
No.
So people like you that made them, volunteered and dropped them off. We were mailing masks out, 30, 40, 50, some of the times a day, because people were so scared. No one could get a mask. They were impossible to get. So we were very grateful for people like you and that we were able to mail them out.
Well, how long have you been in your current role?
About 13 and a half years.
In COVID years, that's a long time. What changes have occurred at the senior center during that time?
So, I mean, basically the building has been closed. All the staff is still working on site. The governor's mandate and the city mandate was to have 50% capacity, which we've been able to do easily since pretty much obviously everything we're doing is on the phone. So when you're making calls all day, the mandate of having half of us work at home has been perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
We still get calls for durable medical equipment, other supplies that we meet people out at the front door if they need to borrow a wheelchair or a walker or donate those things. We recently put out a box for our newsletters, so we have curbside availability for newsletters because the places we were dropping them off, the churches, the synagogues, the temples, we've not been able to do that. So a lot of people don't have access to it.
Now, if you had, I'm going to say unlimited, but reasonably unlimited funds, what would you like to do over at the senior center?
Oh gosh, a girl's got a dream, right? I would subsidize everything. I would love to have everything free of charge. I would love to triple our Meals on Wheels program. and have that all be no charge. Maybe get another van and, be more available to take people around. And yeah, God, it's endless.
Well, let's go back to Meals on Wheels. How many families are you serving now?
Right now, we're doing about half of our program. Right before the pandemic, we were providing, I think it was 180 recipients. So they would get their hot meals every day. And when we had to go down to just delivering frozen meals, we weren't able to manage that capacity.
Mhm.
We called every single recipient at the very beginning of shutdown to find out who had a support system, who was living with family, who was able to manage.
Mhm.
And more than half of the people said that they could get by. But now that we're this far into the pandemic, what I'm working on right now is increasing capacity for the storage of our meals and increasing driver hours. So we want to now deliver the frozen meals to all 180 people. I think, a year is long enough, and we need to think a little bit outside the box to see how we can get up to full speed with these meals.
If you had to give an estimate, how many people would avail themselves of the Meals on Wheels if you had the capacity?
If we had capacity, I think we could probably go to 300.
Okay.
And that's people that could benefit,
Mhm.
not necessarily are dependent on it. I mean, there's a difference that people are absolutely dependent, that live alone and are physically unable to shop and cook. But then there are people that could benefit, that maybe they think it's a strain on family members to provide meals and they'd like to be more independent and not have to count on family, and maybe give them a little bit of a break. So it's a very wide spectrum of the needs and the benefits, and who's completely dependent.
I've got some questions here for you.
Sure.
Aside from fitness classes, could there be other Zoom social gatherings like a book group or topic group, even just support for those feeling lonely and would like the company for an hour or so? Kind of like a drop-in session, I would think.
We're actually in the middle of planning that. We've kind of batted it around a little bit. Not like a formal support group, but the presentations that we're doing are wonderful, but we need something that's less formal and just for people to drop in. And we were going to call it like a coffee clatch, and have it every day at the same time, and just have people drop in.
Okay. Here's another question. Thanking you for doing the work that you do. What is the best agency or website for finding caregiver services? Where do caregivers start? And this person's struggling to find resources for his folks and balance his personal well-being as well.
I have to say that it's always best to start with us, because we may not offer the specific service, but we can at least refer you to the appropriate agency. In previous lives, I'm a clinical social worker by training, but I've been a geriatric social worker since I was 21. And I've worked in medical hospital settings, nursing home settings, and geriatric inpatient psychiatry. So I feel very blessed that I have that experience. And a lot of what I did in hospital work was the discharge planning, the nursing homes, assisted livings, housing options. So I'm grateful that I have this information to offer. And I always say to anyone, start with us. And if we don't provide what you need, we will at least get you in the right direction. I'm not a big fan of a lot of the services out there, the for-profits that offer to do these things for families, especially families that live long distance. I'm a phone call away. If your parents live in Waltham and you're on the West Coast, I'm available. I just hate to see you pay tremendous amounts of money to someone that may not even know the Waltham community that well. So when in doubt, us, to start with us.
So it sounds like if I had a situation, I didn't know where to turn, I'd give you a call. And if you and the staff couldn't help me directly, you know other service providers that are trustworthy.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Now, let's see, another question here. Can you tell us about services, if any, that you have for non-English speakers?
We have made attempts over the years to be more inclusive, and it was quite a challenge to reach out. We did some outreach to the Haitian community. We had an outdoor event, and the group of Haitian seniors, they were comfortable coming as long as someone like from their church went with them. So it was a real challenge. So what we did, let's see, about 5 years ago is we developed a group called Healthy Connections, Waltham Connections for Healthy Aging. And the big goal was to increase diversity at the senior center. And having these resources, these other professionals, retired sociologists, a retired Brandeis professor, all sorts of really very skilled and lovely people got together. And with that help, we were able to do tremendous programming. We had events for Latinx people. We had events for the Haitian community. We were just starting to really get things going. We hired a part-time Spanish-speaking outreach worker, and we had such momentum that we were really seeing a diverse setting in the senior center, and then we closed. So our job is to pick up where we left off and continue to run with it, because these people have needs. They're isolated. There's a language barrier. They have to feel comfortable and know that there's someone in our building that they could relate to. And we just have a lot more work to do, but there was momentum, and I was very proud of what we were able to do.
Okay, I have another question. Do you have a date or some other parameter, like a percentage of vaccinated seniors, that would allow you to reopen?
I don't have that. That's a lot bigger than me. I'm in meetings every week with our local council on aging directors and with the state, the Executive Office of Elder Affairs. And it's the topic that we're constantly trying to at least get a sense of what this will look like reopening. But at this point, we're nowhere near anyone saying, well, if you have this percentage or if you have them all. And the other question is, will people try to mandate that you're inoculated to come into the building? So there's all sorts of things that we need to sort out. But right now, I don't have an answer to that question.
Okay, I think we're all champing at the bit.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because everybody was prepared to hunker down, wear our masks, stay distant, bubble with our families, and we're doing really well. And once the vaccine came out, everybody's rushing toward the finish line now.
Yeah, I know. It's yeah, there's a lot to consider. There are things that even though you're inoculated, you could be carrying it. If you have people in your building that didn't want to get the shots, what risk are they going to be at? And then there's the variants that people are worried about. So we're clearly not out of the woods yet.
No.
But I hope to do at least some outdoor programming this spring, early summer, out in the parking lot, safe distance, spread out, whether it's a concert or a speaker. But we have to get something outside because we know it is safer outside, and it's time. We've done a couple of events. We actually did some flu shot clinics where people looked at that and thought, this is great, I get to see people. And they were all excited to get their flu shots just to be able to be in the parking lot and see their friends and the staff. A couple of weeks ago, we did a grab and go lunch just to get people out and just to know that we're still here. We're doing that again at the I think March 25th and another one April 22nd. So look at the newsletters and sign up for those.
Speaking about the newsletters, how can somebody keep in touch, know what's going on? Do you have an email list that you send stuff to? Or
Yep.
if so, how do I get my name on that list? Because I'm not getting your stuff.
Okay, so actually 3 options. You can call our main number and leave your information, or just leave your name and number and one of us will call you right back, and we'll take your email and you'll have it emailed. You can access it on the city website. Just go to the Council on Aging page. It's there every month. Or you can find it in all the grocery stores and pharmacies, and it's out there everywhere. Might be hard to see it in some places, but it's out there. So email the website, and out and about.
Okay, I have another question here. Do you have any personal favorites among the activities of the Council on Aging, whether pre-COVID or otherwise? What's your favorite thing to do there?
Oh, that's terrible. It's all wonderful.
No.
Every single thing that happens is spectacular. I'm biased. I thought the day trips were wonderful. We went to so many interesting places. We would go to the open rehearsals at Symphony Hall, a play at New Rep. I love it when we have concerts in the auditorium. The concerts are spectacular. We have an arrangement with the Power School in Belmont. They utilize the Arts Council money, and they do 3 or 4 concerts a year with their faculty. So they have staff concerts, and they're amazing. They're incredible, and they're free. And when people come to them, all I have to do is advertise the Power School, and we get a really nice turnout. I love the movies. I love when we pick a really good movie out and everyone enjoys it and they stick around and there's some really great conversation about it. I love when someone comes to lunch and they're absolutely delighted with their meal and their food, and they meet new people at the lunch table and they make friends right there. I don't know, every little bit of it is an opportunity for people to connect with each other, and it's glorious.
It's really quite obvious to me you love your job.
Yeah, I can't hide that.
Well, let me ask you one last question, unless somebody else has one. What haven't I asked you? What would you like to tell us that I haven't hit on yet?
I will tell you that personally, I could not be working in a better city. I think that Waltham has just an amazing heart and soul. And I could say that because I started in Waltham as a social work student at Waltham Hospital. And that hospital just taught me that what Waltham is all about, the sense of community, it's just tremendous. And the hospital itself was just such a joy to work there. The staff, and you got to know patients, repeat admissions. And it just taught me that, you know, there's opportunities everywhere, but there was something special about Waltham. And when the hospital closed, I was actually the social work department head, so I was one of the last people to leave. But, you know, they locked the door. We couldn't get back in. I was very fortunate to be offered a job over at Mount Auburn Hospital, where a lot of Waltham Hospital people were. But when this job opened up at the Council on Aging, I didn't want to leave Mount Auburn. It was such a wonderful unit and did such good work. But when this job opened up, it was just like the seas parted and a gift was presented to me. So I got to come back to Waltham, and it's interesting. I work with some seniors now that many years ago, when I was a young social worker, I helped them with their parents when their parents were in Waltham Hospital. So here we are 30 years later, and it's just a different generation. So, and lastly, we have leadership in the city. We have a mayor that is so incredibly supportive of senior citizens. She will back anything that I ask about, you know, what can we do for the seniors? She's right there ahead of me with thoughts and ideas, but I couldn't ask for a better support
That
in
sounds very
the
much
mayor.
like, that sounds very much like Jeanette. Another question came up. One thing that was offered was assistance with tax returns and also wading through Medicare and health insurance plans with knowledgeable volunteers. Will this be continued, and can it be continued online?
Yes, we never stopped doing that. The Shine counselors, the people that help you counsel with insurance choices, that continued straight through phone and or Zoom. The tax program was very touch and go until the very last minute. We didn't know if AARP wanted their volunteers to be in the buildings at all.
Mhm.
So it was a really great compromise. It's all remote. So people who need their taxes done will drop them off. The AARP volunteers will go out into the parking lot, get the paperwork. The people go home, they then talk on the phone, and once the work is done, the returns are completed, they come back and sign it. So no one has to come in the building except for the volunteers, and we're in the middle of that. And I guess the middle is going to be extended because they just changed the date from April 17th
For
to
the
May
federal,
17th.
for the federal, I don't know about the state yet.
I think this, I thought I saw it in today's Globe, the state was going to jump on board with that extension.
I will check. I get
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Okay. Well, Mary Beth, this has been very enlightening and just absolutely delightful to share this time with you. Thank you very much.
I am so honored to be invited because what an amazing group of people. The League of Women Voters. I mean, you guys are like the rock of society and how long you've been doing this. And I feel very honored to talk to this lovely group of people.
I
So
thank you very much. As you know, we have been recording this, and in my spare time, which means over the weekend, I will attempt to get a recording up on YouTube with a link both on Facebook and on our website. Mary Beth, thank you so very much. Thank you for the audience for coming, and we'll see you the next time. Next month, we'll have another program. We have a new superintendent of schools who will be joining us, and look forward to announcement about time, and we know where the place is.
thanks again.
You're quite welcome.
Take care, everybody.
Good night, all.